Good morning. Sun's up. That's my girlfriend up there. One of them. Okay, this is a redo. I spent 30 minutes going into some pretty deep stuff about demons, why I'm in a homeless shelter, power of the light, listening to a video yesterday about why males might have a little bit of a more difficult time than females do. So I thought, okay, let's do this over again. Because of time constraints, this is naturally a bit of a challenge to try and pull all the information into a very succinct, critical way in which, hey, they can perceive how all of that sort of works in a very simple way that a child can understand, right? So I thought, okay, so just cut to the chase and just spit it out, okay? In ways in which people can perceive it through real world experiences they've had in their own life, okay? So I thought, okay, just share the experiences. So I'll start with this, because it's always going to start with my childhood when I came out of my biological mother's womb, okay? So I realized by reading a newspaper right out of the gate, I'm in a spiritual war, which means that's an energy war, which is a frequency war, which is a genetic war at this level of creation. So when you know these things at that age, then you sort of already know, if you will, how to fight these kinds of wars, which on the biological level means that you want to keep your pH up. Okay, so why is that important? Because that deals with the ignition or the combustion of oxygen, okay, at the cellular level, okay, for electrons to power the quanta, right? Okay, so that's pretty simple because I covered that before. So you want to be more alkaline, obviously, than you want to be in an acidic state of mind. So when you drink alcohol, you're low on your state of vibration at the cellular level. Okay, so ask yourself, why would you do that? Okay, so if you've ever studied a lot of the work that's been done by Dr. Mate is a Hungarian doctor who for decades has had a clinic up in Vancouver, Washington. He used to be on a program I used to watch called Democracy Now!, where he came on there on a number of occasions and talked about genetics, epigenetics, the nature of how all drug addiction, all alcohol addiction has its source, which is what? Trauma, which gets into trauma-based mind control or vibrational control, which means they want us in a lower state of density consciousness, which is running a lower vibration, so that vibration, remember when I talked about vibration, vibrational matches? Okay, so you can match the vibrational to pH, can't we? Yep. So if you're running a higher speed and you're igniting a lot of combustion at the oxygen and electron level in your cells, right? Yep. So when you've learned how to do that, you're beginning to master the energy that all your cells are using to communicate with each other. Because a cell is a membrane, memory, and a chip with antennas and receptors. So essentially what that is remember we talked about this, transceivers being a stereo sound receiver and a stereo transmitter. Okay, remember I talked about when I landed here, it's like putting a big-ass antenna on the top of a mountain. Park a big-ass antenna that's grounded to who? The girl on the planet. My spirit is anchored and grounded to her spirit, her energy. 110 volts, 60 hertz, 220 amps of electrical service. Bang, we're here, mama. Okay, so a light worker just came in here. That's right. Because we know the timeline. Okay? We're liberating this planet. Restoring it back to what it once was. That's an enormous amount of work, isn't it? That's right. That's why we're all in here. So, there was a video that I watched yesterday, and I've mentioned this before about when you're dealing with male and female energies, if you will. And I think I mentioned how beings who come from higher density, they come in here on links. So since most everybody's familiar with computer terms, it makes it much easier to sort of impart how this works. Okay, so in other words, we come in here on what are known as downlinks and uplinks. Okay, which means one male, one female, down, and one male and female back up to our true selves. So another way to perceive that is if you ever watched the movie The Matrix, you saw how they would be inside Zion. Remember, they invert everything. So what's true is false, what's false is true. And that's how they program people. So they do the same things, particularly with males. Okay? And I'll get into that in just a minute. So the reason that that's important is because that is essentially when you see them go from where they were, what they called ox. Remember the tether, the cord, it's called corded in the back of their head, right? They're going to go into the matrix, which means they're going to go into a completely different reality. Okay, so they're plugged in. That's called a plug-in. Okay, much the same way that you think of a male has a plug-in, okay, with a female. Okay, the socket and the plug. Bang! Now you have a universe, the birth giver of creation. Okay, so when I was a child, I realized, for example, you got two links, male, female. Okay, so we know what female attributions are, right? Even though I don't have the hormonal equipment and the ability to have a child, obviously, right? I still have the female attribution side, the other hemisphere, which is what? Creativity, imagination, emotions, okay? Love, compassion, empathy, okay? So when I realized at 4 years of age, I'm in a spiritual war, what side of me do you think I want to power up? The mother side, the birth-giving side, the light side, the divine light. Okay? It is creation. The divine light of creation. Okay? Because that newborn, that soul, that comes in through the heart chakra, just like mine, came into my mother at the point of conception. When that heart first starts to form, the downlinks come in right through the heart. That's the soul connection. That's called a tether. So when I realize I'm in a spiritual war, okay, I want to run the female side, okay, to power the light, the amplifier, through my heart and the pineal gland, to accept the divine light. That's what we are. We are what love is, which is what light is, in living spirit. So now the spirit has like a bubble, a circle of light that protects us. So the more powerful our magnetic shield is, just like the shield of the girl on the planet, protects us. That's the same love of a mother, but it protects her children. So you know how to use the mother side of the cosmos, which is the birth giver, to protect you, and use that energy to not only protect you, but clear an area. Alchemize it. Which goes to why I'm in a homeless shelter. I'm under demonic attack every time I go in there. I'm getting all kinds of thoughts that are hitting me constantly that represent the opposite of what I am. So it's just like, return to sender, get out of here. It's trying to attach itself to me because it knows what I'm running. An enormous amount of light. Okay? So why would I be in a place like that? Think about it. I've been through alcoholism. It took me several years, even though before that I was drinking sort of off and on. When I lost my son at 3 years of age, then it became an everyday thing. What does that do? Remember, acidic state of mind, lower the vibration. When you are in a vibrational match, which means now your state of consciousness is in lower density because your pH is way down and you're vibrating at a very low hertz, it moves right into your energy field. Now your thoughts, as they will say in Alcoholics Anonymous, stinking thinking. You're experiencing the demonic thoughts that gets us to do things that don't serve us. That's called self-sabotage. That's sadomasochistic. Okay? Now they're feeding on us. That's a demon that's feeding on us and getting us to do things, and we do those things. Okay? To kill ourselves off. That's what an acidic state of mind does. Now we're to the mask order, aren't we? That prevents ourselves from getting what? The electrons in the oxygen molecules. Why are the oxygen molecules so important? Oxygen burns hot. Ignites the fire in those cells. So the mask order. I'm dead. I'm suiciding myself. I don't want the oxygen. I don't want the electrons. I don't want those cells to raise their pH. I want to be in an acidic state of mind, so I'm running lower pH in order that a demon can feed on me. What does that do? Summons demons. Flood Reno, Nevada with demons. Increase the level of demons that are feeding on the light. That's how the dark works against the light. Okay? So where are you going to find more demons? Cities. So the more people that you see walking around with masks on, the more demons they're summoning. So it shouldn't be a secret why I'm in here. Okay? Go into a homeless shelter, see how much light you have. You want to test yourself? See what I'm saying? We got to give back the light that's given to us to everybody that still suffers. Okay? That's what it means to have empathy. That's what it means to have love. That's what it means to have compassion. Because this isn't about us. This is about everybody here on this planet. Because we got to shift up in density consciousness. Because the political events that are happening right now are accelerating at such an enormous rate of speed. What do you think is going to happen? You know, November 3rd is just not that far away, is it? And now we have all the information that is coming out that now people become aware of. And if you remember how I talked about the morphogenetic field structure, that means that the state of awareness, which is the density consciousness of those on the planet that are going to finally say, listen, we're not going to give these guys any more energy. They've been feeding on us. These are demons. When we reach critical mass, it's over. Bye. That shift will occur, which means we're running out of time. So one of the reasons I did this right now has more to do with males than it does anybody else. Because as I mentioned, when I was a child, when I'm running more of the female side of those attributions allows me to power up that light, the divine light that is within all of us that are living spirit. So I mentioned how love and service to others will keep that speed up. You'll keep attracting more of what you are because you are what love is in living spirit. This goes back to what your identity function is. That's why when I'm in a homeless shelter or on the bus that I just got out of, I was constantly under attack by all kinds of thoughts. Okay? Trying to convince me that I'm not what I am. It's like, return to center, return to center, return to center. Get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. You're not what I am. You can't possibly be what I am because I run like pure fire. It runs that light hot. Okay, so you realize why they're doing this? Okay, they lost. They lost this war. But demons only know how to be what demons are, which means they can't generate any divine light, which means they can't generate any love. And as a result of that, they're going to feed on those that do. So when they're around light workers or other light warriors, what do you think they're going to want to do? Feed on us like crazy. So the unfortunate part about that, and this is where my compassion and empathy kicks in big time, is why I do these things. You know, is it, what it really is when you get down to the nuts and bolts of this, is how much love we have for ourselves. Okay? When you are feeling the love in your heart, which is the energy that you're experiencing, which is what you are, when you know that and you love that energy, then it's easy, without even thinking about it, you're going to be attracting more of that light just as you go. And that is natural protection without thinking about it. That's why, you know, when you look at children, for example, that are full of just so much spunk, that's natural, okay? That's why it's so important, you know, when I went through this from my childhood up into my young adult years and I began to realize, man, I got to kick this programming out. And I'll just share this with an example. I had left the U.S. Forest Service when I was a seasonal firefighter, so in the wintertime, and I'm married, and I got a child on its way, I got to get a decent paying job to be able to be the provider. I was raised in a family with my mother and father where my mother never had to work because my father, as an aeronautical engineer, made enough money that my mother didn't have to. Okay? That allowed the mother to spend most of her time with her children, in which her children are giving her mother is giving an enormous amount of love to all her children. What does that do? Well, if you've ever studied or ever experienced what it means to be in a neighborhood, because I experienced it, okay, where most of the mothers are at home. They were known as homemakers. Okay? So they were spending more time with their children, so their children were more connected with the nurturing love, compassion, and empathy that a girl and a mother has. So when you have little boys like me that is always connected to its mother with such higher frequency energy, then that keeps the female side of who we are as a male, okay, in which the energies on both sides are in harmony. That's what I tried to impart. I think it was yesterday or the day before in one of my videos. I mentioned when I was a child, when you think of sort of, remember with the hourglass, okay, between the time loop, between lower density, higher density, lower pH, higher pH, okay, when you're in a state of peace and you're in a state of harmony, then essentially your pH is up and the energies between both. Remember how I talked about the male and the female, the god and the goddess, when they are a reflection of who they both are in the mirror, where one is giving unconditional love to the other is giving unconditional love to the other, then the male and the female, because this is how I perceive it within my own energy field, is that both the female and the male side are matched energetically, which means they both give each other unconditional love, okay? Which is infinite fire, which is infinite light, which is infinite love, which is infinite creative imagination. You're one. Okay, you're a reflection of each other. Now you're pure light. Remember, let there be light. So you realize the source of all creation is pure light, divine light. Burns hot. That's a lot of love. That's a lot of compassion. That's a lot of empathy, whether you're a male or a female. When you have reached that state of consciousness in which you know that, in a bidirectional mirror, when you look in the mirror and you experience who you are on both sides of that spectrum, you are running hot all the time. So the male is supposed to protect the female, which is when you look at the clans and the tribes, you begin to realize why it is we honor the mother. Because every species has a first mother through the female mitochondria, don't they? That's right. So we consider all life to be sacred in the cosmos the same way that Source does. So when we have divine source light, okay, that is being picked up by our antennas, that we are experiencing through our DNA in us, then we are broadcasting the same light that Source is through our heart pineal gland, okay, in which we are broadcasting the higher frequency energies everywhere we go. That allows us to maintain the purity of the input and the output of our energy, and allows us to maintain the purity of our spirit, which is the purity of our light, which is divine. That's Source. You are experiencing Source, and I used to say this to myself all the time. You're like a conduit. You know, sometimes I say I'm like an extension cord of the same divine light that comes into me, I share with others. And when you're running that kind of power, you realize why we do what we do, particularly when you're engaged in a spiritual war, which is an energy war between lower and higher density consciousness. So when you learn how to become a powerful magnetic light amplifier, you're free. You're free to be who you are, and you're autonomous. You're not holding anybody's energy captive, okay? And that allows you to be free to be who you are and experience the rest of the cosmos that goes on forever. And all those experiences of what we're experiencing are running at a high rate of speed that the energy just feels so good. It's like, whoa. Now you're a part of everything that is. There isn't any separation between what you are and what everything else is. You're part of that fabric. Your state of consciousness is in that energy. So that's what it means to be one with everything that is. Wherever you find love and living spirit, you'll find us. That's freedom. We are the energy that created the cosmos. Okay? So it means you're running both sides at the highest possible state of consciousness. So anyway, this is where I acknowledge that males are going to have a little bit of a more difficult time and be more challenging Because all you have to do, for example, when I think about my childhood, when you think about the symbolic representations, which is energy, okay, that little children, little boys are exposed to or presented. Like, for example, I remember when I got for Christmas a machine gun, a Thompson submachine gun that was what they used in World War II that was built by Mattel, okay? I had all these little sets, okay, that represented Army helmets. Everything was about war. So it's just like, man, this isn't my home. I want to leave, right? Love is not about war. See, you begin to realize, stay in your heart. So they use the symbolic representations that represent energy that get recorded in our DNA. They become a representation of the reality that we're going to experience. Remember how I talked about yesterday? Okay, input, output. They're presenting who they are, and then there's who we are. I'm not what that is. I'm not going to give any psychic energy to represent what war, aggression, predatory behavior is. That's not what I am. So I refuse to be a part of what that is. Okay? So, this is where when you have a higher state of awareness, because your pH is running at a higher state, then you're able to distinguish the difference between what you are and what you're not. Okay? Which is a measurement of your own evolution, which is a measurement of your own coursework. Okay? So when you're learning through the light, which is what love is in living spirit, then you're seeking higher knowledge. Okay? So when you're seeking higher knowledge, that knowledge will come to you. And where does it come from? Divine light. Because the information of what you experience is in that light. All the knowledge that is held within all the powerful spirits that represent the girl in the planet, source, the girl in the sun, okay, is knowledge. Higher knowledge. Higher knowledge simply meant through higher frequency, the speed at which we are all experiencing who we are. So it's pretty clear to me when you look at the cosmos, man, that's a lot of energy. That's running hot. That's why we have cool colors. That's why the sky's blue. Cool colors. Got to cool the furnace down. Otherwise you'll burn up. Okay? But you love that fire. That's why there's cool colors. It's unbelievable when you break it down to childhood, huh? So there's still that little kid in me. You're darn right there is. I still love to have fun and live in a state of love and joy. Okay? So you can heal yourself. I've been doing that every day because I had fractures in my spine. And I'm not experiencing that anymore. That's a lot why, what's his name, Wim Hof is absolutely right. The power of your mind, your living spirit, living energies will heal you from within. And when you know these things, because you are these things, then you know these things. You begin to realize the power of creation, the power of your living spirit, the power of the energy that you can use to burn off a demon. Because that's essentially what it is. You're burning off lower density. And that's where we're headed. We're going to burn off the lower density. Okay? It doesn't serve us, does it? That's why the world in which, how do I put this? People are still connected to, which means everything that is in their unconscious memory that they put there as a result of what was presented to us is going bye-bye. Which means the world that we thought that we lived in, which is the world in which we came from, is going bye-bye. So that means there's going to be some unbelievable changes taking place. They're going to be extremely unfamiliar ground to people, which means traveling into the unknown. Remember Twilight Zone? That's actually good news, okay? Because it means that they're going bye-bye. The demons are no longer going to be allowed to feed on us because they lost this war. And there is so much light that is in here right now. It is my hope, and I go into my heart every morning and give thanks and gratitude to all of you that are here, okay, to help us out in assisting humanity to ascend and experience, if you will, the higher energies that are possible to experience within us so that we are no longer experiencing energetic vampires that have been feeding on us, that we've been giving energy to and consent to rule over us. Because that's essentially what it is. Demons ruling over living spirit. Which is inverted, isn't it? That's right. The very idea that we would allow a demon to tell us what to do is inverted. So I'll leave that for the day. Have a great day. I love you all. Sun's up. That's a powerful female macabre up there, huh? She loves you. She loves all of us. She's given us free energy. Bye.